Yeah, no, I love that. Let's turn the table a bit on that. So, how do you hire good freelancers? How do you ensure you don't get burned?
Such a good question. It's really hard. And so first thing is you have to figure out why you actually need that freelancer and what the work is. Second thing is you have to figure out where that freelancer is. And third thing is how to get started. So in terms of understanding what you actually need to get done, the shift is generally a mindset shift from skill to outcome. So instead of saying, hey, I need a designer, it's I need a landing page, or I need a website, or I need a presentation design. So that's the first step. The second step is really, really tough for leaders generally, but on the younger side, it's not as bad. That is putting the trust in the freelancer. So if you think you need a presentation design, have that freelancer tell you what the cost should be, what the time should be, what the required steps should be, what technologies you should use, what design principles you should focus on. And then the third thing is generally starting as small as possible. So one thing is you're gonna fail. And what the freelance economy is great at is that it reduces the actual impact of failure. So when you have a bad hire at a full-time level, good luck. Like it's going to cost what, over 300K probably in terms of your own cost, and you're stuck with that person forever. Where if it's a freelancer, there's no such thing really as a bad hire, because good freelancers, they're also vetting you. And so you work together for 1 to 2 weeks, you see if it's a fit. If it works, you then work together for 6 weeks or 8 weeks. And if it's not a good fit, most likely both parties will say, this is great. Thanks for making sure you're not just stringing me along. So first thing is really change your mindset to being more of a skill or job requirement to more of an outcome of what outcomes do you need. Second thing is really put the trust in the freelancer, understand that they are the expert. The reason they freelance is because they're the best in the world at it and they don't need a job. And that's one huge thing as a leader that you have to understand. These are not people that can't get a job. They're too good to have a job, so they can be able to work with you at a contract basis. And then third thing is start small. I usually like to say risk-free too. So if you are, first time hiring a freelancer, don't trust them to build something that if it doesn't work, your boss is going to fire you. Like start really, really small on something. Maybe it's market research. Maybe it's one slide design. Maybe it's a diagram you've been having in your head. But so those are generally the three things.
That's it's so profound too, to like start small before you get like the scope of a huge project. You know what I mean? It's kind of like test the waters a little bit. I also think it's like if you've never worked with freelancers before, I just like the idea of starting slow too, so you can kind of like get the sense. But the best part of that answer was the fact that how you describe freelancers, right? Where like they're not going to struggle to get a job. They're the best at what they do. They want to be their own boss, and because they're so good at their job, they have the ability to have they can be as picky as they want. They can set the price in a lot of ways. So I think that's the other thing is the mindset that like freelancers can give you an insane amount of value. So I think like a lot of freelancers and creative professionals that I've talked to, they feel like they get undercut a lot. Like they set a price for like something like logo design. They're like, this is my price, versus doing it really well. They want to take price cuts, or they want it they're saying like, this is our budget. So there's also, flipping back to the freelancer perspective, is the ability to say no. Like if the job isn't meeting your requirements, if the price isn't right, you have to have there's another job around the corner. So sometimes it's hard saying no to work if it's not the right fit. I just wanted to, do you have any experience with that? Is that something that you've personally gone through, or do you have advice for people that are in that situation?
So the situation of being undercut, undersold, sort of surprised when you get the actual coming back from the client. The problem is generally that you're positioning yourself as a resource and not a solution. And to put it in a different way, you're saying that you'll do one thing versus being the go-to resource, being the go-to partner. And so to get really, really tangible, what I mean by that is, let's say we have a coffee brand and they want to go global. Are you going to position yourself as the trusted resource to help them have the best design from a global perspective, or are you going to position yourself as doing an animation video? If you're going to position yourself as doing just one animation video, you might get undersold because they're looking at you in a very transactional way. But if you're selling yourself as the best possible person to drive their design, then they're going to look at you in a holistic manner and realize that the animation video is just one small step in a larger pool. And so even if that one project might be smaller, you might have a retainer coming up, or you might have a longer project. So that's generally what I see, is that it's more of a, how are you positioning yourself simply as another IC, or are you positioning yourself as the best strategic resource, which usually actually comes down to KPIs. So it's positioning yourself as a leader that's going to drive awareness or drive engagement or drive NPS or some sort of metric that you know you can deliver, and focusing on that instead of fighting over, I can do a logo for $2,000 and they say, what about $1,500? Then it's just that's where the freelance economy does become a race to the bottom, because now you're just competing over a transactional unit instead of showing that you're going to actually drive $2 million of pipeline value.
Yeah, I mean, that's could have said it better myself. Thank you for listening to today's episode of Design Huddle. The opinions expressed are solely our own and do not express the views or opinions of our employer.